I never thought to Google quit weed, but of course that comes right up. And so then I was like, oh, doing a podcast with Tristan would be really rad.
So to answer your question, I've been sober for 10 hours and I haven't smoked weed in 23 days.
You're an ex-weed dealer and now you sell a program online to help people quit smoking weed. So that in itself is pretty cool.
Yeah, they say I went from drug dealer to drug healer.
Yes, I love that. I love that. That's really funny. And I'm fascinated about your karma on that. I know you've made a comment on that too online. So, but just tell me a little bit more about programs, how you help people, where you are.
I've been doing the Quit Weed program since 2009. So anyone can do the maths on that. I'm not new. And it was years before that I was drug dealing. So it's a long time ago, that kind of stuff. But yeah, when I used to sell drugs, I was pretty guilty about it because I started to see it differently. Like I'm affecting the world in a not so good way. When I was just a kid, so I was growing up thinking, oh, if they don't buy it off me, they'll buy it off someone else. But as I got older, I'm like, no, you're a cog in the wrong machine. It doesn't work like that. They might not buy it somewhere else. Maybe you are perpetuating their addiction. And then I noticed that a lot of people had a problem with weed because they would tell me. They'd say, don't sell me weed for the next month or whatever. And they couldn't do it. They'd always come back. And so this was a long time ago when weed wasn't addictive. Everyone said weed's not addictive, but I could see that it was. So that's why I wrote a book about it. The book went kind of viral, made a lot of sales, and then I've just been doing that kind of stuff ever since.
You still hear that all the time. People will say that it's not addictive, but then when it's so hard for people to quit, then it's pretty obvious that it is.
The thing about weed that's funny is people that say that it's not addictive will admit that gambling can be addictive. Right? Everyone knows gambling can be addictive, but nothing goes into your body with gambling. You create the chemicals yourself in your body. It's your own adrenaline rush. It's the dopamine hit. We know why it works, right? It's the drop in gambling. That's what it is. And so if you can consider that gambling can be addictive, of course weed can be addictive when it changes your state chemically, reliably, immediately. Of course it's addictive, you know, for some people. And for some people it's not. So that's why people argue, because we're all different, you know.
Yeah. And most people, when they come to you for help, have they been thinking about quitting for a very long time?
Very long time, usually. Yeah, years.
Yeah,
usually years. And that's why I send emails for a long time, because it's usually the 50th email that somebody buys, you know, when they're just finally they're like, yeah, you know what, I have tried to quit 50 times and it's not working or whatever, you know.
Well, I've been getting your emails and they're really interesting and they're really helpful. And I quit smoking weed ages ago. I mean, it's probably been 12 years now, but I still find that your emails very interesting. And so I imagine for someone who's still smoking, it would be, challenging to read, but also there's a big part of you that's like, I need to hear this.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, usually people that smoke weed,
dosing out the medicine to people.
So you would know, just like I would know, if you smoke weed for a long time, all your friends do as well, because they're not really your friends if they don't smoke weed. That's kind of the prerequisite to be your friend. So you don't hear the other side so much. So when you start hearing the other side for a little while, it just opens your mind a little bit to it. And then, you know, why not try this sober thing is all I'm like, you know, just try 30 days. And then people can't.
That's right.
And that's when you try it and you can't, now you can't tell me I'm bullshitting, because you can't do it. You can't prove me wrong, you know?
Most of the people that I talk to, it's a struggle. It's really hard. So they need people like you to help them with the mindset of it all.
Yeah, well, the official stats is 9% of daily smokers. So some people say, you know, weed's not addictive, and then they hear that and think it's bullshit. But most of my customers think that it's higher than that. The real number would be higher than that. But daily smokers, this is what people don't get is, you know, I smoked every day for well over a decade. And when I say every day, it's every day. People don't get it, you know, it's every day.
Yeah.
And it's all day, every day. Yeah. And then all these people do too. So, you know, people that are like, weed's not addictive because they smoked it, you know, a couple weekends in a row in college or some shit. Like they're just not, it's a completely different thing that we're talking about. This isn't a drug to these people. It's a lifestyle. And so, you know, so it absolutely can be addictive, but yeah, it takes a long time to get there, and then it takes a long time to get out. Even if it's just only weed.
Yeah. And where I'm at right now, like I'm in BC, Canada, and so it's very much part of the culture. However, there is, at least from where I'm standing, a lot of the conversations that I've been having with people in the last few months is that's starting to change. Even people who are in that culture are starting to become aware that it's becoming a problem. And the lifestyle of wake and bake, they're kind of like, and I'm not really sure if this is how I want my life to keep moving.
Yeah, the wake and bake lifestyle, it doesn't kill you, but it will take your life away. You don't do anything. There's no progress.
Well, before we got on this call, I was looking at some of your YouTube videos, and just so many comments on there of people saying like quitting weed was the best thing I ever did with my life. And I'm like, that's what sober people say, like about booze, it changed my life, right? And it's the same with weed. So I thought that was really great. You have so much like support and followers of people saying like, yeah, this is the best thing I've ever done. So like for you, how long have you been clean, and when did you start you started teaching your program 2009, you said?
Yeah, I started teaching in 2009, so I quit about then, a bit before then. But it's funny, they call me I'm really overly honest. I'm like too honest, really, online, with my whole story. So I started out as Seb Grant. I started out with this different name.
Yes.
So that I could be honest and be like, I sell drugs, all this kind of stuff, because I didn't want to get legally in trouble, and some lawyer guy convinced me to do that. But after a while, after a few years, it just felt wrong. And I hadn't done anything illegal for over 7 years, so statute of limitations or whatever. So I just thought I can just be myself now. I don't need this. I don't need to hide behind this pseudonym, Seb Grant. So I killed Seb Grant.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I just became myself. Yeah. And I just went on it. But then the thing is, I don't have a problem with weed. So I've gone back since and then come back. So you say, how long have I been sober? The real answer to that, there's still on my Instagram stories now, me drinking. So I've been sober for like 10 hours, right? But it was my birthday and I was partying and celebrating. I don't have a problem with alcohol. I have a problem with drinking alcohol all day, every day. I don't have a problem with weed. I have a problem with smoking weed all day, every day. So with weed, I haven't smoked weed now in 23 days, which is when I came back from Thailand. So I did go to Thailand for 2 months and I was smoking weed there. But then, I quit for 8 years straight when I first quit. Then just like had a smoke for like a week or something and then quit again for another bunch of years. And so now it's a take or leave it thing. I don't know. Quitting weed is kind of my thing. It's very easy for me to quit. I don't have a problem with it. I don't indulge in it much. I don't really like it. I don't look forward to it. And that's why I can do it. So a lot of people are thinking, can I do the 30 days and then reward myself at the end of the 30 days? Because I only start with a 30-day challenge. I don't want to because people are like, I don't want to quit forever. I'm like, don't. Just quit for 30 days. We're just proving a point. But in 30 days, you're a different person. So now you can make a judgment call from a place where you really are you're being yourself. You're more yourself if you're not smoking weed every day. Mm-hmm. So then you can decide if you want to go back or not. And if you want to go back, cool. If you don't, you've now got the power to not. And so that's what I'm all about, is just having the power to not. I don't care if you smoke weed or not, but if you don't have the power to not, then you're a victim of it. It's not.
Yeah, it's controlling you still.
Yeah, you're not controlling it. It's controlling you. So that's what I'm about. So to answer your question, I've been sober for 10 hours and I haven't smoked weed in 23 days. But I did. That's awesome. But I quit all day, every day smoking, in 2009.
Yeah.
So very long time ago.
Yeah.
And I won't smoke again. It's early in the year now and I won't smoke again this year. Like, it's very easy for me to say that and do that. Because I live in Indonesia. I don't know if you know that. It's completely illegal here anyway. You can't do it. It's extremely illegal,
Oh, so it's not part of the culture there?
No, that will put you in jail for having any at all. Yeah.
That's very different from here.
It's the opposite of Thailand. That's why I can go back and forth to Thailand and my lifestyle's completely different.
Yeah, I bet. Is there like a story or an incident around you realizing I don't want to speak running my life anymore?
Yeah, my life blew up in a really big way. So I wanted to quit for a long time and couldn't, but I was researching for a very long time. And I sold weed, and there was 4 of us that sold weed, but we weren't gangsters. We didn't have guns. We like lived in Canberra, right? Just like a little city, 500,000 people. We were just tiny dudes, little children.
Yeah.
But we got big enough and we were selling enough that some Sydney gangs came down and kind of bullied us and took over. And they did have, they knew it. They were much more serious than we were. And so it kind of shut us down very quickly. And so I was left without any income, without anything. And then, I had to, so that's kind of when I just pivoted to the online thing, which was the best thing I ever did, because now I can live wherever and I'm doing good in the world. I'm not destroying people's lives. It's just completely opposite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That's such a story.
Yeah.
So it was a slow burn for you, realizing that you wanted to quit, but then it took you quite a while as well.
It took me a really long time, but I mean, that's normal, I think, with a lot of people. It takes a lot of people a long time to truly change. And you can know it, but to get it in your muscles, to get it in your nervous system, to know it, to let your body know it, not just your mind. That's what takes a little while. And then sometimes you do need a big shift, which is what I had, where my previous lifestyle was no longer an option. So I had to quit for sure.
Yeah. It's amazing. And it's amazing that you've like transformed yourself, was able to put together programs to help people do the same. And now you're living this like beautiful lifestyle where you get to travel and offer people your programs online. Like you're like living the dream travel coaching lifestyle. Like people are always talking about.
People always talk about it, but they don't do it. I don't know. Like, I think location independence is completely underrated. And I've done it for a long time. And you see a lot of people talking about it online, but usually the ones talking about it are the ones just discovering it. And the ones that are truly living it don't often talk about it. They're talking about something else,
Yeah. What was sort of your learns between your transition from being chronic to being clean, or not having it control you anymore?
What's my learning since being clean? Or from that? I think the best way to learn something is to teach it. So I've talked to so many people one-on-one, almost every day for like 10 years, about weed or alcohol or gambling or cigarettes or building their own online business, right? Because they all kind of come in through the addiction sales funnels, but then once they quit, we need to replace it with something. That's another part of it. So I have this saying in a lot of my programs, especially the Quit Weed one: if you can't go one day, that means you can't make the decision. You're saying you want to quit, but you've never really made the decision. If you can't go a couple of weeks, that means it's probably the detox reason. You can't it's still, there's still metabolites of weed in your fat cells that are giving you the cravings, and you're falling for that. If you can't make it a few months, but you can make it a couple months, but no longer, you're just not replacing it. You need to replace it with something else that's more rewarding, that feeds your natural reward mechanism, And that's when we get into, money, health, and relationships. They're the only three things I think that matter to all humans. So we go into that, and that's when a lot of people want to build a business or something, or do something like what I'm doing. And then I help people do that. I help people build sales funnels and build their own products and become coaches or whatever the hell they want to, whatever the hell they want to do.
Cool.
So,
because you got to fill that energy in that space with other things.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing I learned, is that energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred. And if you have an addiction and you're honest with yourself, you're going to have to do something new, and there's a million things. That's what you learn when you quit addiction, is there's so much more interesting shit you could be doing than smoking.
Yeah, right.
So much like real stuff. The problem with pleasure-based, right? So you've got pleasure, passion, and purpose. And I talk about this a lot. If you don't have a purpose and you're relying on pleasure for your happiness, you always need to start again every day. It always starts at zero. If you're an alcoholic and you drink, and then the next day you need to drink again, you start again at zero. But if you're building a purpose, which is just really helping other people, or building some kind of system or machine or business or something, the next day you're not starting at zero. You're starting a bit higher, and it compounds and builds on itself. And so you can end up really building something meaningful in like 10 years. But if you're just based on pleasure, you can't. So I think that's the biggest lesson that people need to learn. Once you truly get that, you can quit pretty easily, I think.
I love that. Yeah.
So getting your happiness from serotonin as opposed to dopamine. I guess that would be the answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there a grieving period for people? Do you find that you're almost like a death doula for their grieving around leaving weed behind?
It's weird. The woman that invented the stages of grief, the 5 stages of grief, where you go through bloody anger, bargaining, we all know what they are. And then they end up with acceptance. That's kind of been debunked. Like, it's not meant to be a real thing. But I find it still useful, because people do go through those stages, just not necessarily in that order. But yeah, there's totally a grieving period.
And I'm going to just assume that, like, for the detox part, like nutritionally speaking, you're trying to really get more fresh food in them so they're feeling nourished and satisfied. And is that a part of it for sure? Like more
and then helping and just getting the weed out of the fat, the metabolites out of the fat cells in your body, because weed stores in there much more than any other drug. Detox is kind of more important with weed than anything else. And then even we do go to some crazy stuff like milk thistle to help your liver repair. That's not scientifically proven, but it is an old wives' tale that's been around in many different cultures for for a long time.
Yeah.
So I suggested, I say we don't know this for sure, but a lot of people think it helps, and we don't really have the science to back it up, but a lot of people think it helps, and they can make their own judgment call. So I'm not closed off to the spiritual stuff, but yeah, definitely stick much more to the science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and placebo's real too. So if people placebo, it's helping me feel better. Well, what's wrong with that?
And placebos are proven. We do have science behind that. Placebos definitely work, So
we do. It's cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
You said you're not competing with others, you're competing with you clean. And I really, really love that. So how has your life or other people around you that you've helped quit weed, how have you seen improvement in lives?
Yeah, so the reason I say that is because I think the only way you can mess up when you're quitting an addiction is to beat yourself up. So if you say, I'm going to quit, and then you go 2 days and then you relapse, like, who cares? You just keep going. But people care. They take it personally. They identify with it. Oh, I'm a failure. I'm this, I'm that. People identify with stuff too much. I should be this. I should be that. And so, probably the biggest lesson that you can teach someone quitting, or the most important thing, is to just not beat themselves up when they fail. And that's why, and I say you're competing with yourself and not others, because usually if you've smoked weed for 10, 20 years, you feel a bit behind, and you may be a bit behind because you didn't take as much action because South Park has a great saying, Randy Marsh, I think it is. And one of my clients brought it up to me and I'm like, yeah, it's really true. And he says, he does this whole speech where he's like, okay, weed won't kill you, but it makes you okay with being bored. And it's when you're bored that you're supposed to find out what you're good at, and that's kind of true. I think that's really wise advice from Randy Marsh on South Park. But how has my life been better since I quit weed? It's really funny. When I first quit, I just wanted to sell more copies of the book or help more people quit weed than I sold weed to. I just wanted to balance out the karma kind of thing. Balance it out, yes. And that was something I didn't think I could do because I had sold to so many people for so long. I didn't think I could do it. And then eventually the quit weed thing took off in a way that was way more, And so I feel like I've balanced my karma, if not more so. I feel like I'm a good thing in the world. I'm a good thing to be in the world. So, and it's just, you get evidence from marketplace feedback, If you start with imposter syndrome and self-doubt, but if you can just keep working, you outwork your self-doubt, and then you start to get all the evidence and you get all the testimonials and people thanking you and saying it really is working. And then you start to believe it, and then you can double down and go, yeah, no, I really am helping it. And once you believe it, you can transfer the belief to others. It really is that simple. I think humans just transfer belief to each other, and the one that's more sure is usually the one that will convince the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I love that. And did you ever have a time in your entrepreneurial journey where you felt like, oh, maybe this is not gonna fly? People maybe tell you that was a bad idea.
Oh yeah, everyone. But I was lucky, like
everyone. God.
Everyone. But I was always too honest, even when I was selling weed, and my whole family knew about all of that. So one of my biggest supporters was always my mother. She was just like, keep going, you can do it, keep going. And she doesn't like me talking about all the kind of drug stuff online, but I'm like, you're not my target market. This just, so we often argue. She's on my email list. She'll reply and be like, did you need to say this? And I'll be like, you're not my target, don't worry about it, Mum, it's fine. I love you. I love you. See you.
That's so sweet.
So you have to learn when to listen to them and when not to. But you can't take advice from anyone who doesn't have what you are trying to get. So I don't know anyone else that was doing what I was doing or was where I wanted to be. So I couldn't really listen to them. So I just listen to my intuition, listen to myself, listen to my customers, take the good feedback in and personalize that, and then listen to the negative feedback, but don't take it personally. And then, I was actually lucky because Quit Weed went viral pretty early in my journey. Like, it was my first program and it took off. So I had some kind of backing to be able to move to Asia and just keep going and double down. And, so I was a little bit lucky in the beginning, but I think we all need to get a little bit lucky at some point.
Amazing. And did you always know that you were going to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
Did you have the spirit when you were little?
Yeah. Yeah. I've always been an entrepreneurial guy. Always, and I tried to, when I was doing my old career, I won't keep bringing it up, but when I was still back in that, when I was a kid, I'd always want to have an honest income as well. So I did try every job. I've been every kind of construction worker. I've been in real estate. I've been in sales. I've been in door-to-door sales. I made a program helping people with door-to-door sales online. Whatever skill I learned in the real life, I turned into an online program and sell that as well. So, you know, I've tried all the jobs, but I just can't. That's what motivates. That's the best motivation, I think, to be an entrepreneur, is that you don't want to work for anyone else ever again. Full stop, hands down.
Yes, totally.
It's like that. Yeah. That's the one thing we all have in common, is I'm not working for someone else. Full stop, hands down. That's the end of the discussion. And now how am I going to make it work, you know? So I've seen a lot of people being in Bali. We have a lot of entrepreneurs come here that want to be expats that live this laptop lifestyle or whatever. They're still talking about it like it's a big deal because they don't have it. That it's what they want.
Yeah.
And so they come and they last a year or two, and then they just they can't, they go home, you know, because they come here and they party, and it's quite distracting to live in a tourist island like Bali or Thailand or something like that. So a lot of people come and go, but I think if you truly are, if you've really said to yourself, I am never working for anyone else ever again, then I think that's the main thing that matters.
Yeah, I mean, me and my entrepreneur friends will make the joke that it's just, we're unemployable now. It's just, I'm unemployable by other people. Like, I have to work for myself now.
Yeah. I had a guy recently who's the same boat as me, and he was a client of mine, and he's doing really well. And he wanted to start a podcast with me, and he said, he did the whole pitch, and the name of the podcast would have been Utterly Unemployable. That's what he wanted to call it.
That's
I said,
great.
yeah, maybe.
So are you going to start a podcast?
Everyone keeps telling me to, so I probably will, but I'm just going to do it by myself, and then he could be a guest or something like that. I'm not going to go in with someone else full time totally, because relationships change and things get weird. But I'll always be here, you know, like I'll always be me, and I can always do it with myself. So yeah, I'll probably start and just do it with myself. What about you?
Yeah,
What's this? What am I on?
What's that?
What's this podcast I'm on? I don't even know. I didn't do research on you, not because I didn't care, but I didn't have time. I was moving and doing all sorts of stuff.
How dare you?
I know. I feel rude. I know. I'm so rude.
It's just my podcast. It's called Raise Radio. So you're only the second person that's ever been a guest. I usually just blather on about things I want to talk about.
Okay.
Nutrition and holistic health, spiritual medicine, AI, like whatever I want to rant about. So, but this is very important to me because one of my clients or someone had mentioned your name to me, and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like because I never thought to Google quit weed, but of course that comes right up. And so then I was like, oh, doing a podcast with Tristan would be really rad. I think what we talked about was great. And I just really wanted like a just generic, let's just talk about quitting weed. And so I think we really covered a lot of sort of what you see and how you help people. And so I just want to close by, asking you, and then of course tell people how they can find you online. But just what would be your biggest sell on why people want to give up chronic use?
It is that I think I can really help them do it. That's it. They know why they should quit. They know. And if they don't know, join my email list. Just go to tristanweatherburn.com. I'll talk about it all the time. And eventually, if you ever do feel like quitting, then I'm there to help you, and I think I can help you. But I think I don't ever want to convince someone to quit. You know, this is something you learn pretty early in your entrepreneur journey. You don't convince people that they need your product. You find the people who already want it, and then you say, here it is. And you make it good.
Yeah.
You just make it good, and you make it useful resource. And then people tell each other, and you get that word of mouth stuff anyway. Like you found me through word of mouth, right? Like someone just brought me up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you said I think when we were chatting on Instagram initially, you said most people find me that way. Word of mouth, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said I'm so surprised you don't do much marketing on social media, and I really don't. And a lot of people say the same thing. But yeah, I mean, I have affiliates, and people find me online, and there's YouTube and a bunch of stuff like that. So yeah, it is.
Oh yeah. Well, I never saw your YouTube until recently, and it's pretty good. But I think your Instagram just surprised me because most people with a program like that, like their whole feed would be about that program, right?
Yeah.
So they're expecting your feed to be like, come quit weed with me. And instead it's like, I'm living my life.
I'm just a dude, man. I'm just a dude. That's it.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, that's right.
So good.
It is cool. It is cool. Yeah, so I might send this to people on my list. So anyone that you show it to, they can find me at tristanweatherburn.com. But for people on my list, where would you be found?
it's the same. It's my name, RainaDawnLutz.com. If people Google my name, I'll come up for sure.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram at RainaDawnLutz. So yeah, this is a cool partnership. Thank you very much for sharing your time and sharing your medicine and helping people to get away from medicine that's not working for them anymore. Like, I really appreciate the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.